Welcome to the Work Life Ready to Go Netcast. We are Dave and Laura Butler with a special guest we'll tell you about in just a second. So hang tight. We'll be with you in just a minute. We always say we are in this together. That's for sure. So we are Dave and Laura Butler with a special guest, and we are with Work Life Consulting. And what we do is we provide customized online coaching programs that help individuals, teams, and leaders to achieve greater work-life satisfaction. So we speak each week. We give you a snippet of some of the topics that we hear about from people, our clients, and what we hear in coaching sessions. And also, we love to bring colleagues like Jeff on board to share his words of wisdom. And it gives everybody who listens somebody else to listen to rather than me and Dave every week. So, Dave, why don't you introduce Jeff?
Yeah, that includes the two of us, too. It gives us somebody else to be able to talk to. I think Laura knows all my stories by now. So, welcome Jeff Levin. Jeff Levin, he and I started working together with a client. There was a CRO. That means why don't you tell us what that is? What's CRO, Jeff?
It's a clinical research organization.
Right. So there's all these people that are now frantically trying to prove that the vaccines work, right?
Right. Exactly.
Something like that. Jeff's got a long history in that industry, working with those kind of research organizations. And since the last couple of months, he's been joining us on the consulting field. We got him on our website. I'm thrilled to have him here. So with that, why don't you tell us a little bit about Jeff Levin, Jeff?
Sure. Thank you very much for including me. So as Dave mentioned, I've been working with Dave for off and on for a number of years, and recently with Laura over the past couple of years, and it's been wonderful for me to learn from them. My background is, as Dave mentioned, HR in the corporate world. So I've run a couple different HR departments, biotech, pharmaceutical, CRO, and it's been a really amazing ride because those companies grow very quickly. Give you a real quick background. CROs, they're on demand. They hire people when they win a contract. So it's full speed ahead and get people as quickly as you can. So with that in mind, I've also been responsible for finding the people, dealing with all the personnel issues, problems, working through getting people in the right spot, and which has given me a really interesting perspective on trying to help managers, line managers, and other managers with how to deal with people in difficult situations, how to say, and we're going to talk about it later, how to say no when you need to, and how to listen and respond respectfully. So got probably over 30 years of HR experience, 15 years in the management level, senior level. So it's time for me, as I'm now out hung a shingle. I'm running my own consulting business and getting a big boost from Dave and Laura.
Absolutely.
Pleasure to have you here and to help us with discussing this extremely important topic, because the hybrid way of working, the fast forward to 21 from 20, and I think people thought, well, let's just regroup and we're going back to the way it was. Well, that's not going to happen, and whatever that hybrid is going to require a new set of rules. And what we need to realize is that there are, as you mentioned, as we move forward, what are the situations we can say yes to, and what are the things that we need to say no to? And learning to say the yes or no will create a whole different scenario, especially in this hybrid workplace.
And I think a lot of the need to that, to be able to know what to say yes to and what to say no to, is driven by the fact that we're kind of unsure about what's going on. What's it going to be like? I used to go to the office every day. Now, maybe at least 50% of my time in a hybrid situation, I might be working from home continuously. And because of that stress, and because I feel like I'm out of the circuit, I may be just prone to saying yes to everything because I'm worried. I don't want to be left out. And of course, that means that if I say yes to everything, I'm pretty pretty soon I'm going to run out of time and ability. So I think some of the things that you brought up about this, Jeff, was really spot on. Why don't we talk a little bit about saying yes first?
Sure. One of the things that I've run into a number of times are managers who, or even project managers, when they're requested by the client, whether it's internal or external, we need you to do this. They don't know how to say no. They will say yes. I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it. Obviously, that can run into a situation where you're overcommitting yourself. So one of the recommendations is when you say no, say to the person, before I say no, here's a yes. Let me get back to my team and check with them to see if we can do it. Because oftentimes the team will go, that's an important client. That's this. Well, they'll shift things around, and it turns out being a yes. So it's a pause. Don't say yes immediately. The answer might be, let me check with my team and I'll get back to you. And another important thing is to say, I'll get back to you today or tomorrow morning at the worst case scenario. You don't want to just hang it out there. Give them an answer.
I like your use of the word pause here, because I think that my experience of it is it's called the tyranny of the urgent. We're in a situation where everything's urgent. I got to get it now. And you're almost afraid to stop. Yeah. Or if you just call a timeout, sort of like throw the referee flag in and say, wait a minute, give me 5 minutes here. I'll get back to you. Some sort of a pause where I'll make sure that we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Well, I think too, when we say yes, obviously we're thinking, well, there's the flip side that may be the no to things. And as you mentioned, I like the idea of giving a bookend to the discussion of this. Let me get back to you by this time, so that there is that support and people aren't left hanging. But the giving, I think the rationale behind the decision is such an interesting concept, because people can feel put down or shut down without that. So when have you seen that taking form, Jeff?
Well, actually, I've even seen it in team meetings, management meetings, and people are sometimes hesitant to give the details. They'll say, well, can you work on it? No, we really can't do it. And you can see their body language. It's like, what do you mean no? So it always helps to say, no, we can't do it, and here's why. Here's the rationale. Understanding you may not be able to give them all the rationale, but enough so they understand the main reason for the no. Oftentimes I've heard clients say, or internal customers, oh, okay, I understand why you can't do it now. How about if? So the no and the rationale sets up more give and take, more discussion. And I think that also leads to a level of trust, and it leads to a level of, this person actually, who is my project manager or whoever they are, the lead, they do have reasoning behind what they're doing. They're thinking. It's not just yes, no. They're not. Right. So it's important that you find the right situation, read the room, but see what's going on. And a lot of times giving that rationale creates, the conversation. It turns it back to the other person. They're saying, understand. They're not walking away frustrated. And if they have a good reason to maybe say, how about if we change up the priorities? Because this really is important. I hear what else you're working on or what the rationale is, and I'll help you. So set the foundation for discussion.
Well, my favorite that you brought up as well is this one, because what that does is it doesn't shut the door. And people feel like they're a part of the solution, which is the collaboration.
So I think one of the things we can always do is when we say yes, it could be yes and. Here's something to think about with it, and no but. Here's another solution. Here's another way that we could approach this.
Right.
Yeah. And another element to that is that if you go back to your team, if you put it on pause, and you go back to your team and you say, the client asked me for this, this, and this, but I wanted to check with you first. Whether you're the PM, the manager, whatever it is, including the team in that discussion gives them an opportunity again to be part of looking at the rationale behind, do we do it or not do it? As opposed to, and I've seen this from managers, they go back and they go, okay, I said yes, and this is what we're going to do, and the team is demoralized. They're like, oh my God, more work? Do they understand we're doing all these things?
Right.
So sometimes managers think, I don't have time to get into the back and forth with my guys. They just got to do it.
Yeah.
But
Well,
take the
and
time.
you and I have talked quite a bit about this, the importance of the managerial conversation.
Mhm.
I don't have time to have the conversation. Well, if you don't have time to do that, you're probably going to run out of ways to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think too that the idea, the pressure is that we're so results focused. Oh, we don't have time to kind of figure it out, and let's just go do it.
Yeah.
And wondering why there's more confusion, why there's no collaboration, why people are frustrated. I think it boils down to such an important topic, which we shared last week, but I think it's a great way to segue into it here, is psychological safety. And which allows individuals to feel like their strengths are being recognized, that they in their whole selves, to work in this conversation, to life, for that matter. Psychological safety, it can be unsafe in families. So it's such an important piece. And Amy Edmondson, who's the researcher who framed it up, she said, and did the research, she said to look at learning as a learning problem, meaning let's work it out together, not always going to the fix of do or an execution problem, which I think is so, that always be learning is what we like to share. And acknowledge when we don't do well, acknowledge when things aren't going well and when things are confusing. And also to model curiosity, because if we're curious, to go to that yes and space is really how we can move forward. And the final piece I would add, which you can, I'm sure, speak to, Jeff, is this one of promoting discussions, debates, and what we like to call collaborative conflict. So the conflict is going to be there, but one of the things I've learned is to, when things start to feel uncomfortable, is to have a collection of questions that I
think we all have to face it. There's a lot of things that are happening now and are going to happen in the coming year that we don't have answers to anymore. This is all new. Nobody's ever been through this before. We haven't had a pandemic like this since 1918. But in 1918, we didn't have we didn't have Zoom, we didn't have telephones, we didn't have half the stuff that connects us today. So we're going to be looking for new ways to deal with this, new ways to rebuild, to build back better, as our friend President Biden says.
Yes, exactly. And I think this also ties together with the concept of stress behavior. That people are showing stress in a variety of ways as it regards this yes/no discussion. So I think this is like a blog in the future, Jeff. So be on the lookout, everybody.
Yeah.
Continued words of wisdom. The other thing that people can do is access our quiz on looking at this stress behavior, and it's thriving in the virtual world by way of supporting you in managing the stress before it manages you, which impacts your ability to say yes and no to any situation that comes up. And that is also going to lead us to an upcoming weekend workshop, the 22nd and the 23rd of May. So be on the lookout for that. If you complete the information on the website here, you will get additional input and additional information. So any closing thoughts, either Dave or Jeff, as we move forward here?
How about both those? Why don't you say a few things, Jeff, on the way out?
Yes.
Sure. The psychological safety is actually one of the things that Dave and Laura and I have talked about. I'm working on putting a piece, but it's such a foundation, and it made me think of, in the time of COVID, managers, even if you're not, one thing that might be a good way to open the door is get your team together on a call and go around the room and say, what is it about working from home that's stressing you out? I took the survey, the questionnaire that you guys put out. It was great. Maybe think of, do that. It opens it up. It gets people talking about, and it makes you the stress. And I think as a leader, one of the things for psychological safety is that vulnerability, to put out there what you're concerned about, what you're dealing with. they go, oh, it's okay for my boss to express that. I am too. So,
we
yeah.
realize you're not alone.
yep,
Mhm.
And we're in it together.
right.
Which we always say that. Any closing thoughts, Dave, from you?
No, I think that's it. I think that, having the collaboration with Jeff is great. We'll see. We're talking about him participating in the workshop. So I would stress again that it's going to be 22nd, 23rd of May. We'll be sending out more information. You want to check it out. Get to our website. You can also reach Jeff at his website, which is Levin Consulting, right?
Levin HR Consulting.
Great.
Fabulous.
Thanks for
Well,
being
thank
with
you,
us.
Jeff, for joining us. And again, if people have other topics that you'd like to have us talk about and invite Jeff back for sure, let us know. So we'll see you next week for our Wednesday netcast.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.